All right, with that, let's bring in Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Leader, good to have you with us today. Just, off the top here, and thank you so much for being here. What's your reaction to what Mr. Sperling had to say about the White House approach to all this?
Gene had a really tough job trying to defend the indefensible. There's one clear reason we are suffering from 40-year high inflation. The $1.9 trillion so-called rescue package passed last year in March without a single Republican vote, which Bill Clinton's Secretary of the Treasury, Larry Summers, said at the time was going to create record inflation. And Jason Furman, President Obama's top economist, said it was going to create record inflation, and it has. And you saw the numbers the other day, they continue to go up. So Gene did the best job he could defending the indefensible. This inflationary spiral is entirely the responsibility of this all-Democratic government. And as you suggested, now they want to make it worse by having yet another spending bill, which they argue is some version of BBB, which Senator Manchin shot down a year ago. And they're discussing raising taxes, which, coupled with the interest rates that the Fed is going to have to take up, likely leads to a recession. So they want to tax us into a recession after spinning us into inflation.
Well, if you tax businesses, and a lot of the tax, as I understand it in this bill, and tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of these taxes, the entities that would be taxed include a lot of small businesses. So once you raise taxes on small businesses, the thing that they are going to likely respond by doing is not employing more people, right? They're going to pull in their pull it all in and say we're not going to hire anybody else. So then your unemployment number is going to go up, which may help to staunch inflation, but it's a tough way to do it, and it puts a lot of pain on workers. Let me ask you about Senator Manchin, who you just raised, because there's this China competitiveness bill, which seeks to make the federal government sort of a facilitator for more chip manufacturing in this country, and also works to make us more competitive so that China doesn't create all of the pharmaceuticals that we need here in this country. The suggestion is that you might hold back on supporting that if Senator Manchin gives his support to this slimmed-down BBB. To that, Senator Manchin said, I am not walking away. If anybody's going to threaten me or hold me hostage, if I can help the country. If they want to play politics or play party politics, shame on them. What do you say to that, sir?
Well, with all due respect to Joe, that's another spending bill. They're flirting around with adding another $1 trillion, much of it in taxes on businesses that are not incorporated. And by the way, most American businesses are not incorporated. So what they want to do is tax the businesses that are not incorporated in a big spending bill. And then they have us apparently trying to pass yet another spending bill, parts of which I think are arguably justified. That is the chip problem we have in this country. Add it all up and you got more spending right in the middle of this record inflation created by what they did last year. So yes, I've been reluctant to say it's a great idea to add 2 more spending bills on top of what they've already done, which creates the #1 issue in the country, this record inflation, which is the principal reason the president's poll numbers are in the dumps.
All right, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one more question about the midterms, because this Siena poll shows a tightening in people's preference between a Democrat candidate and a Republican candidate. Now, to be fair, this is a generic, it's not attached to certain candidates' names, but you see the number here among likely voters. It's very tight. Democrat control, 43% want to see that. Republican control, 44%. Why do you see these numbers tightening, and does it concern you?
Well, it's not surprising. I think we're basically a 50-50 country. We have a 50-50 Senate right now. The two parties are very, very balanced if you take into account all of America. So I'm not surprised. I think the fall election is going to be a big fight over the future of the country, and people in the end will have to decide whether they're happy with this all-Democratic government or whether they want to send the president a message and change one or both of the houses of Congress to say, Mr. President, quit doing what you've been doing because we don't like it.
Are you concerned when you look at any of the Senate polls in Pennsylvania or Georgia or Missouri about some of the candidates that people are wondering if they're the right people for those positions?
Well, I think all of the races that are going to determine who has the majority next year are competitive. Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Ohio, Missouri, Nevada, Arizona, all of them are competitive. I think it's a close election almost everywhere, and it's a 50-50 country. So I think it's way too early for either side to be assuming they're going to have a great election or a disaster, for that matter, this fall.
So no apprehensions about the candidates that have been chosen in those states in particular?
So far, so good. I think we're halfway through the primary process, and I think we've done fine so far.
All right. I hope you'll come back soon, Senator. Always good to see you. Senator Mitch McConnell,
Okay.
thank you for joining us today, the Senate Minority Leader.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.